Everybody listen to We're Not Wizards, because we are the best, and we're not wizards, no matter what anybody says. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for August. Now, sometimes people stay quiet. Not just now. Some people are a little bit noisy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to start them off in a conversation. Sometimes you don't have to start them off in a conversation at all. Sometimes you need to get the bit dodgy people in life kind of talking to you, the people you're not entirely friends with. Sometimes you just want to grab them by the shoulders, tweak their little nose, and tell them to talk, you fiend. Now, who am I going to get to help me talk? Do that. There is only a couple of people who can help me with this. I have got Michael Lynn. I have got Andrew Swainson. They're from Stone Bones Games. They're here to talk about their Kickstarter, which is surprisingly enough called Talk You Fiend. Yes, I am getting good at these intros. So, hello gentlemen. Hello. How are you both doing?
Hey, well. Good to see you. Good to be on the show. You're the best at the intros. Every single intro for everything, you just find a way to put the puns in. It's the best.
You can tell it's like I'm not allowed to do dad jokes anymore because I get told off. So what I try and do is I save up my dad joke energy for when I do the intros for the show. Maybe we should ask the lawnmower guy just to come in and ask if he wants to join us, because he's obviously about a second away from tapping on the window, but it's all good. As I say, thank you very, very much for coming on. For everybody who hasn't listened to us before, the reason that we do this is quite simple, is because there's just quite simply not enough podcasts out there about tabletop. Do you know? And try to use the new Apple podcast search thing is impossible to find anybody at all now. Thanks, Apple. And the other reason that we do this is because I put a shout out to say to people, would you like to come on the show and chat? And Michael,
yes,
pinged us a quick message.
I did. I was in the timeline of our story to how we got to this point. You know, it's really interesting. I was referred to by a friend of a friend.
Oh dear.
So Andrew Burkett from Aetherist. He referred me to contact you to get on your show because he was on your show a little while ago and he really enjoyed the time. And he's like, "Oh, hey, go on. We're Not Wizards. You know, it'll be a good time." Since you guys are into the board game thing now. So I messaged you and, surprisingly, all right, well, come on. And here we are.
And the reason that Andrew's here is because Andrew got dragged along.
Yeah, Mike just swept me in. He said, hey, you should join us. And I said, okay, I'll set time aside in my free and clear August for this. So I'm happy to be here.
We'd like to point out at this time that Andrew is actually on vacation at the moment because of his profession. So he's basically killing time to be here just now. So that's just one of these things. So I don't want anybody saying anything terrible to him. I don't want anybody being in a fit of jealous rage about what he's been doing for the last couple of weeks, which is probably nothing but enjoying himself. So that's kind of fair enough. I'm sure you've got a couple of tales to tell. How did you guys kind of first start interacting in terms of the kind of the board game space? I mean, are you close to each other in terms geographically speaking? Or is
It's a funny story.
Andrew is not close to us. So let me take the story of our board game company and this whole project back to March or April 2018 in Boston, Massachusetts. So This is PAX East 2018. So I go there. I'm with my younger brother, and the one person who's not here in our group right now, James Stone. He's the one of the founders of Stone Bones Games, and he's a lead designer of Talk You Fiend. So we get to talking, and we're having lunch. And this is actually right because we met up for lunch because I had to do his tax return. By profession, I'm an accountant by profession, so
you could have made that more exciting.
So it gets to March, we're at PAX, before we're talking, like, he's saying, hey, by the way, I haven't done my tax return yet, so, like, you need to do your tax return, bring your tax stuff, we're going to meet at PAX, we're going to duck into a hotel lobby, we're going to get this done, and we're going to go out for lunch afterwards.
Can I just point out you need to work on this story a bit, because the whole tax return thing, it's kind of like, it's fine. I'm sure, was it a difficult tax return? Did he keep it?
A difficult tax return. It was like a really simple tax return, which, which leads me to the point. So I'm doing his tax return, and this is the key part of the story. And I'm like, hey, Jamie, what is your goal in the future? Because this isn't sustainable. So, we get talking, and he mentions that, his dream is to be a board game designer, design games with game design. Yeah. And personally, for myself, I've, always had an interest in games and gaming. I remember, like, one of the fondest memories was I was in 6th grade, and me and my best friend, we went to, like, a thrift store. We picked up all of the board games that they had there, and we Frankensteined them together to make, like, a crazy hybrid board game. So it's a combination of Monopoly and Risk and Stratego, and I think we used a spinner from Life in there as well. So,
right, okay.
So we did that. But anyways, so James is talking about how he wants to be a board game designer. I said, yeah, you know what? That's something you should do. Design some games. I want to hear your ideas. And then a couple months go by. At the same time, I'm working as a accountant company, and my coworker, who happens to be a really good friend of Andrew Burkett, he was from Aether's Games. Yeah. And then, so we get to talking. He's like, oh, hey, my friend Andrew, he kickstarted a board game. And, he put us in contact with him. And then we pretty much we just take step by step. And before we knew it, we had a game on Kickstarter. And, like, wow, this is surprising. And Andrew got roped into this because we were talking one day. We met Andrew
2014.
2014.
Wow.
On Destiny, the video game. And he's
really?
Always been with
the original Destiny.
The original Destiny.
Wow.
And we were, playing, and we were talking to him about, like, hey, we need an artist to do this, because neither me or James are artists. And you can actually see what our art looks like on our Kickstarter, because for the $3 pledge tier, you can get a print and play copy of our game with art done by myself and Jamie, and it is just the worst.
It's very endearing.
It's Andrew's being kind here. You're being kind here, aren't you, Andrew?
Very.
Is it the type? What would you grade it if they were doing like a class project, and you had to grade it? They handed that in as a class project. What kind of grading would you have given their art project?
It would be an unfinished work. I certainly have had art pieces like that handed in by some of my grade 12 students, and they've had to work on it until it's satisfactorily completed.
No way. That's harsh. Michael, how do you feel about that being unfinished?
You know what? Art has never been my forte. So I would accept the unfinished. Possibly a B+ for effort.
B+ for effort, yes. Marks for effort for sure.
So you're having a chat with Andrew, and you're saying, Andrew, can you help with the art? And Andrew, what possessed you to say yes then? Was it, did they show you the previous art and you went, I've got to help these guys? This is almost like a pro bono charity case kind of work,
At first it was, my initial pull into it was, yes, Mike and Jamie, they definitely need somebody to help out. And I didn't actually realized that I was going to get roped in right all the way to the finished product. I thought that I was just going to give them, some ideas and maybe point them in the direction of another artist with some better, solid, sketches and ideas for visual presentation that they could go take to another artist. As I'm just starting my career as a teacher, and I also have a 1.5-year-old. So this last year he would have been only 6 months. So I did not foresee myself having a lot of time to be able to sink into this, and nor is my I feel that my skill level is perhaps to the level that they were looking for. But it turns out that they roped me in right to the very end because they liked what I did and they said it fit, and I got sucked in by Michael and Jamie's wonderful charms.
We are the most charming guys.
I didn't want to say that, but it's quite clear that is that is the kind of the case. Are you both kind of quite avid kind of gamers then yourselves? I mean, Michael, do you have a reasonable kind of collection in terms of kind of like tabletop wares?
For myself, personally, I don't have a large collection of tabletop games. Mostly for the reason I don't have anywhere to put all my tabletop games if I were to get them. However, I do frequent a local game store, and they have board game nights, so essentially their collection is there for me to use. So why have a shelf of my own when I have a store to go to? I can just play whatever game I want. And they have events too.
I myself have a broom cupboard of board games and tabletop games. I've had to kind of stick to the generic things. I have more nerdy tastes than the rest of my family and friends. I've always wanted to get into games like Warhammer and Dungeons and Dragons and such. But we do have a closet full of board games, and we do play. I've played since I was a young child, and always a good time. Better than sitting around the TV and not doing anything.
Would you say you're kind of into the hobby, or Andrew? Are you active in places like Kickstarter and places like that, or will you just occasionally kind of pick up a new game?
Just occasionally pick up a new game just for pleasure. I've backed a couple projects. Mostly I'm looking at art projects. There was an amazing project by Wiley Beckert, who's an artist illustrator whose style I really admire. I backed her deck of cards, and I use it, and I pull it out and show my students, and we also play games at lunch with it.
So are you a bit of a kind of would you say you're a bit of an art connoisseur when it comes to kind of tabletop? Are you more likely to see something that catches your eye from a graphical representation as opposed to maybe a gameplay kind of point of view?
I would say that definitely as an artist, I do appreciate the different styles that are out there, and that is certainly what will draw me to a game. There's one that I saw in the store the other day called Above and Below.
Oh yes,
and it's a long series game you played over 5 or 6 sessions, and I've wanted to buy it based on the art style because it's such a visually appealing game.
It's stunning. I mean, as simply as it's one of these games that you would actually take out and show people even just the box cover because of how kind of striking it is, just to get people going, oh, can we have a look inside? And it's like, only if you play the game.
Absolutely.
Only if you play the game. So, is James the kind of the main design force then?
So we have a really interesting working relationship in our group here. So James is the design lead. He has the ideas for the games. My background is more business savvy. So, when we decided to get into the board game thing, James like, oh, I have an idea for a game. How do I make it? And I come in and say, well, first of all, we need to start we need to incorporate as a company. And then we have all our, we have our taxes in check, all our bookkeeping, all our, essential governmental stuff that we have to do first before we can just launch a game out into the wild. So I handle all the unfun parts, which I actually secretly enjoy. And now that I've said it, it's public information.
It's unsurprising, Mike. Unsurprising.
So Michael, you are the numbers nerd. Then you just
the absolute numbers nerd. I'm like the numbers legal nerd of the group. So like how if we were all three of us to look at a board game or any sort of game, James would be one who deeply examines the mechanics and buys because of the mechanics. Andrew would look at the art and buy because of the art. I would look at the components and the component quality and manufacturing and all of that technical specs and get it because of that.
Would you be the type of person that if you were playing like an economic kind of heavy Euro game, you'd have like the ideal kind of game plan kind of finished out, especially if you're like, well, I've got to turn this into 3, and then if I turn this into 3, I can turn this into 7, and then I can use 2 of these to turn this into 10, and that can get me 52 victory points. I've won. Boom. Kind of thing.
Yes. that is most likely what I would have done. I think Century. I think I played Century, and I had the win pretty much set like that right from a couple turns in. It's like, oh, okay, well, this is how this game works. This is how I win.
So, in terms of, because you've got kind of different skills, does that mean is it easier to kind of make progress on the game because you're not kind of butting heads on kind of what you want? Are you able to kind of drive things kind of forward? Has it been quite quick? Because it sounds like things kind of got together relatively quickly.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely works our advantage where we have different skills and opinions on things. So, especially with Talkie Fiend, so Jamie would have these grand design plans of how the game would work and how the mechanics would work, and then we would play test it a few times. And I was like, hold on, these components wouldn't really go together, and it wouldn't fit in a box correctly. And just mechanic-wise, it's not efficient and ergonomic to have. So maybe there's some sort of redesign we can take to make this something that's easy to set up and easy for people to just pick up and go.
Okay. Has getting involved in the designing side of games, has that meant you've been playing kind of more games?
I have played exponentially more games in the past year or two since I've been in the past 3 years. Normally I just go every maybe once a month out to a game cafe, play a couple games. Now it's almost a weekly thing, if not multiple times a week.
Okay. I'm in the same boat. Every opportunity that I've had to even go to a game store, go to a place that sells games, I've just been consuming all the different design, strategies and ways that people present their cards or decorate them or visually represent the ideas that they're trying to come across. So I've been finding myself have an upsurge of consuming games as well.
Have you been feeding back then the rules and stuff like that in terms of design? Have you found that you've crossed into kind of like the kind of almost the design thing, kind of helping out with the playtesting and things like that, Andrew?
I haven't been so much involved in the playtesting. That's mostly been Mike and Jamie. I could just simply because I'm on the other side of the continent. But when I have helped a little bit, help them, scratch their heads in terms of what they want to represent, and that rule doesn't necessarily work this way visually, or here's a way to show this that it becomes a little bit more intuitive.
Okay. Has that helped with the design side of things on your side then, Michael? If Andrew's been telling you kind of like, this isn't an easy way to represent this, you're going to maybe need to consider another card or another 2 or 3 cards or a different bit of kind of iconography as well in the cards.
Oh yeah, definitely. One concrete example is, since our game is somewhat numbers heavy, we had to do a mathematical edit for instances where we have 3 or 6 players, because those are just the outliers of the group. And for those, we were trying to think, what's the best way to get the point across that for 3-player games, there's a change in, the prisoner's health value versus a change in a 6-player game. And I think Andy came up with the idea, let's just, we have an additional symbol that's clear 2 for 3 players and an additional symbol that's clear for 6. And, his design really makes it something that's easy to follow. Once you see it, it's like, oh, okay, well, we have 3 players here. This is the change that needs to happen.
Okay. How does the game work? What's the core mechanics kind of behind it? If I, let's give us the pitch, Michael.
So Talking Fiend, here's the pitch for it. So Talking Fiend is a 3 to 6 player blind auction card game where you are playing as just a regular, typical, dungeon keeper in this kingdom, and where the king has, he's gone on Twitter and shouted out and locked everybody up. Everyone's suspicious. There's clearly a plot, so they're on jail, and your job is collectively to see who's the best dungeon keeper or torturer of you all to make these prisoners talk. And how that works, has aspects of blind auction bluffing, and it's kind of like communal blackjack. So every prisoner has a point value and a health value, and the goal of the game is to get 10 points to win. And each prisoner has a health value, and every player who is playing as a dungeon keeper plays one of their torture tool cards face down. And our torture tool cards are just real silly. We gotta give it to Andrew for doing the art and design on those. And, and then everyone flips their card over, and whoever plays the highest card wins the prisoner in the round, and whoever plays the lowest gets a point of shame. However, if collectively, which is kind of like the collective blackjack aspect comes in, if collectively the sum of all the cards that's been played is over the prisoner's health value, the prisoner then, breaks and goes crazy. And the win conditions are flipped. So the lowest would win the prisoner and the round, and the highest would get a point of shame.
Okay. So you mentioned obviously they're using different implements. Were you kind of conscious in making sure that you're not kind of glorifying people kind of being kind of tortured?
Absolutely.
Because I remember the artist kind of, I don't know if you're aware of the cartoonist Gary Larson from years and years ago, Andrew.
I grew up reading The Far Side.
Yeah, I mean, Gary Larson famously said that he used to always do kind of like the dungeon kind of scenes, and he always, every time that he released a kind of a panel that had somebody, a torturer or something like that he was sent a letter from Amnesty International just reminding him that this was actually something that was still going on, and he had to be kind of mindful of that. Was that the same kind of thing that you had to think about when you were kind of...
Absolutely. I actually have a nod to Gary Larson in the terms of the rubber chicken. There's a couple comic panels where he does have rubber chickens hanging on the wall in his torture scenes. We wanted to keep it light and funny, and not take itself too dark and serious. It's kind of just a more this is awkward rather than sinister or serious.
Yeah, did you ever read the prehistory of the Far Side?
I did not.
You should try and track that down. It's got kind of like panels that he kind of self-censored, and one of them was basically a python that was caught in like a basically one of these baby playpens.
Oh boy!
it obviously it was trying to get out through the bars, and it couldn't get out through the bars because it had eaten the child whole inside, and it's just like So,
the whole Gary Larson Far Side thing is actually a huge stylistic inspiration for this game as well. I know Jamie's a huge fan of Gary Larson, and I think one of the panels that we keep going back to, it's the one where it's the executioner, dungeon keeper, and he's just a regular schmo. It's just his day job. He's got a sign behind him that says employee of the month. It's the whole our game is kind of silly, and even though it's got that serious grim medieval tone, we add in a lot of typical office humor, which I'm coming from workplace in my career. We have a lot of that where you have these exorbitant titles that mean nothing.
the head mover of the figures at the end of the year. What are you? I'm the guy that balances your checkbook for you. Oh, okay, that's kind of cool. With you being kind of first time kind of creators, how have you found it in terms of kind of getting the word out there, or getting the kind of the noise out there?
So, I mean, for us, being first-time creators, it's definitely a little harder to get our names out there. I know right now we're competing with some pretty big names. Dice Throne. You have, I think, a couple weeks ago, Dungeon Drop was from Phase Shift. They're actually relatively local to us. So I actually ended up meeting Jason Maselli at Kineticon a little while ago, a couple weeks ago, and ended up talking a little bit about his campaign. It's actually really interesting, and all these big board games, and right now just the industry itself, the Kickstarters, the platform where everything kind of goes to, and for us, marketing is a little harder because we don't have a person on our team that has a strong marketing background. So, it takes a little bit to get us out there, but it's a big learning experience. And now we know that, okay, well, this is what we could do. This is what we, build. And I know a lot of big Facebook groups have been super helpful in the process, so far.
Yeah, I don't think people in Facebook groups necessarily want you to fail. I think that what they want to do is they're quite willing to kind of give you help. I do notice that there's kind of the current kind of meme going around Facebook is people sending you a friend request on Facebook and then kind of going, have you seen my Kickstarter kind of thing.
That is all too true, because earlier this morning I did send a friend request to some people I've met over the weekend, and and actually sent them the link. So it's not just random people.
It's the whole vegan thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that. No, that's my favourite joke of all time is like a guy collapses in the street and a group of people run up to him and say, somebody, get a doctor. And then somebody steps forward and goes, I'm a vegan. And but anyway, so there's that one. There is obviously the one that people post and go, this game looks absolutely fantastic, and here's the Kickstarter link, and people are going, that's you're the creator. Why are you spamming our group kind of thing?
Yeah,
so I've seen that. But I understand, because you're game designers and you're artists, or you're you're not marketeers. Nobody actually sits you down and says, oh, by the way, you've not only got to balance up the gameplay, but you've also got to know how to send out a mail shot, or build a mailing list, or learn how Twitter works, or learn how to take photographs on Instagram. Nobody kind of tells you that. You're just trying to figure out if you're going to get this person with the umbrella or the rubber chicken. So it's kind of a difficult. It is a kind of a difficult thing. It is difficult.
Twitter is not easy to use properly. There's definitely a right way to use Twitter and a wrong way to use Twitter, and you see, if you use it wrong, you end up like the president. So
with 1.2 million followers. I know. I mean, I think it's difficult, because it's almost a case that you should be building up an audience kind of 2.5 years ago.
Yes.
In order to kind of hit your space. And the rules of engagement seem to kind of keep changing as well, is that, people are always going, well, Instagram, that's a huge thing that everybody should be considering. And so you all dash off to Instagram, and then people say, no, you want to be using TikTok on Twitter. And then folk are going, what is TikTok? I have no idea. Kind of thing. Or you want to be using this, or you want to be generating a Facebook group. But I've got a page. What's the difference between a page and a group? It's just mind blowing.
Yeah, we are. I'm close to So for some of the guerrilla marketing, I've just been taking the demo copy of our game to to game shops and just local places where people who like games tend to congregate. Like, hey guys, this is this game, check it out. It's on Kickstarter right now. Play a couple rounds. Really demo it out. Just really.
Do you think that's more helpful?
For us, I think that's been very helpful, because it's one thing to see a game out on Kickstarter or on a page and watch a video of it, but it's something else to play it. Entirely, play it yourself. Because, I can read reviews of something all day long, but if I don't try it myself, then I can't form my own opinion on it. And that's really, my mindset on certain things, especially towards that game. If you're interested in demoing it, I'd be happy to show you.
Yeah, exactly. And once people get tactile and they get hands-on with something and they understand it, then it can break down the challenges that you have with, production and, the artwork. Because, if you're looking at something, I don't know, Andrew, if you've seen Etherfields. No. Have you looked at that on Kickstarter?
I'm not.
Have a look at that, and then you can drool a bit, because the art on that is just... It's absolutely phenomenal. It's absolutely amazing. In terms of prices, what's the kind of the price of entry? How much are you needing to kind of pledge
for one
to get
single
involved?
copy of Talk You Fiend? We have set the price at $20. That's, I think that's a nice, relatively small amount. That's the price of a pizza in most places.
Yes, yeah.
Price of 4 sandwiches.
You would know this. You're the accountant. You'd probably be able to... How many apples is it, Michael? How many apples?
Well, at the current price of, I think, certain apples, $1.49 a pound, it's, you can get a couple pounds of apples.
It's a lot of apples.
That's a bag of apples there. That's a bag of apples. What about the shipping? Is the shipping going to be included in that? Is the shipping going to be over and above that?
The shipping right now we've calculated. So we're working, if we fund, we would be working with Fulfill, right? And shipping would just be, it's an additional amount. So for the United States, it's probably going to be around $5 extra. The rest of the world, just a little bit more. But, with shipping, like, no one knows the exact number until you actually start to ship. So.
And just in terms of production, obviously we're all aware of the Chinese kind of tariff situation in the States and how it's, it's working really well. But are you kind of aware of that? Are you looking at getting this manufactured stateside? Or are you looking at have you got quotations to get it kind of printed out?
Yes.
And outside the US?
So we've been, getting quotes from factories in China and, some Taiwan as well. And for us right now, I think based on, even with the tariffs, since our game is relatively small, we won't necessarily be hit that hard with the tariffs, and that's something we'll just probably end up eating for it, just because it's right now it's proposed to be a 10% tariff on all the list 4 items for which board games, tabletop games, toys included, and whether that's something that's going to stick September 1st, we have no idea right now. Right now, I think it's just a threat of the tariff, not in actual, this is happening. So, very well. Yeah. So, knowing the volatility of the current state of things, it could very well be, August 30th, we say like, I'm the president, I solved the trade issue, no more tariffs. I'm a hero. Very nice.
We'll just need to see. We'll just need to
see
what happens.
What we need to see what happens.
Cool. If people want to find you on the internet, where can we find you on the internet webs?
So we have a Facebook page at Stone Bones Games. Same with our Twitter at Stone Bones Games. Those are really two places. We don't have an Instagram yet, as I don't like taking pictures, but maybe we will put together an Instagram at some point, and have that out there. Yeah.
I guess I can be found on Twitter as probably or I guess Instagram as well. On Twitter, I am at Andy Swains, ANDY SWAINS, and on Instagram,
cool.
I think it's the same. Oh, I haven't opened Instagram in a long time.
Okay,
so it shows you how much we use it.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, it's the same on Instagram.
Excellent. Well, what we'll do is we'll make sure that the Kickstarter link goes in the show notes, and any other links as well to yourselves as well, we can put in the show notes as well. I can only wish you the best of luck, because obviously it is a crowded market at the moment. It's interesting to see kind of games trying to do kind of something different like yourself, and I can only wish you the very best of luck with the rest of the campaign.
Oh, well, thank you. It's the important thing is we just keep going, and if you fall, you pick yourself up and try again. That's what he said in Rocky 5? Was it? What was the Rocky 4? It was a Rocky remake. He was talking to his son. Life is hard. You just gotta keep going.
No, an unsuccessful attempt is just the opportunity to take a step back and refine and then try again.
To be honest, and nowadays on Kickstarter, that's normally the norm.
Yes, Andrew said it much better than I could, and much better than Stallone would have said.
Maybe Michael could go into acting.
I could. I had a very brief YouTube series with my neighbor back in the day called The Neighbor Show. It is extremely cringy. Please do not search for it.
We have to search for that. We have to track that down. That's definitely going to get tracked down. We'll make sure that definitely goes in the show notes. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, go to the Google search for We're Not Wizards. You will find us on Facebook and Twitter, and you will find us on things like Instagram, and you'll find our website, and you'll find our blog, and you'll find all different other places with worn out faces. But you can also find us on all the podcast catchers as well. The ones with pod, the ones with cast, the ones with neither, like Player FM. Who knew? If you like what you've listened to, then please consider giving us a rating on your podcast place of choice. If you like us even more, then please go to Apple Podcasts and give us a rating or review. If you are going to be giving us a rating or a review, then don't give us 10 stars because it makes us big-headed, but don't give us 1 star because it makes us cry. Give us something in the middle, like a 5, because it's average, and we're just a little bit average.
That's perfect. But 5 out of 7.
There you go.
Perfect.
5 out, absolutely. You accountant, you. And there's but the people who haven't been average, I give you Michael, I give you Andrew. We salute the absent James. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the show.
Great to be on the show. Thanks for having us.
And there's only 2 more things to do. The first thing is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, gentlemen?
We are not wizards. We are accountants and artists, not wizards.
Andrew, I need to hear you say it.
Oh, I'm not a wizard.
Definitely not. That's absolutely fantastic. And the second thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from Andrew. Say goodbye, Andrew.
Goodbye.
It's a goodbye from Michael. Say goodbye, Michael. And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll 6s, make something awful. And if you fancy doing something a little bit kind of different and fun, and you want to maybe have a conversation with somebody, but somebody's not want to have a conversation with somebody, you can always play them a round of hands, put it on the table and say to them, "Talk, you fiend." But until the next time, goodbye.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.